A beautifully calm morning to explore the harbor. Stewart Cove back in action where Bahama divers used to operate. And then Seahorses operating where Flying Cloud used to operate. This is an area of boneyard that old boats were put to rest. And this is the mangroves that exist there. There never really was a large mangrove area, but this is a close observation of it. Next observation was quite bizarre. It turned out this was the Royal Nassau Sailing Club, two different types of boats, supposedly having a race, but were resting right near the bar that was set up in the boneyard.
You have the first prize is a beautiful outfit from the IP Dogs. We have the certificate here right now for it. Sign, seal, and deliver. That's it. You with five. You went against four people.
Okay, next I proceeded to Paradise, past the Narrows. There's some new houses just gone up. This area was once the Paradise Island stables, all forest area. Then it became the airport for Paradise Island Airways. And before that, it was a cement factory to build the original hotels at Paradise Island. This is continuing on where people have been able to build out to protect their boats. I should add that this area where that seawall is was once the Sea Gardens, and it was all landfilled to make the cement factory. Interesting boat, just observing boys and their toys. This building, which once stood on stilts, belonged to the owner of Mary Kay Cosmetics. This is the Flagler, or what was the Flagler Inn. We used to pick up our guests at a dock that stuck out from the hotel, our Paradise Island guests. This is what's happening to Hurricane Hole. It was once a hole dug out of Paradise that was supposed to be hurricane safe. Now it's being extended way out into the harbor, which seems to me will affect the flow of water through Nassau Harbor. It's quite hard to believe that the government allowed this taking over of seabed and expanding the harbor the Hurricane Hole out into the harbor. It's quite a shock. Whether it'll have a long-term effect is another question. Obviously, the dust and sediment going into the harbor is not good for all the coral reefs that are farther down, which I no longer use, so I suppose I shouldn't care. But environmentally, it's pretty much a disaster for the reefs downstream. I guess I shouldn't say I don't care. It doesn't affect me anymore, I guess, though I do care about the reefs. They were pretty much destroyed by the building of Atlantis. All that dredging that was done really did damage, as well as global warming. Ever since a good friend started Powerboat Adventure taking people to the Exumas, every Tom, Dick, and Harry now wants to get in the business. It's quite a shock. This is Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett's thing. Now we're proceeding into where Atlantis has taken over everything. Part of where I grew up. This was the original stables area, and there was a beautiful Spanish house here that my mother copied to build our house in Paradise. And then this is the Porcupine Club. My mother arranged to be the last member of the Porcupine Club, even though it was pretty much defunct at the time. It became Club Med, and now it sits in ruin. Atlantis has bought it. They keep the dolphins in these pens. And then next comes my home in Paradise, which was 7.5 acres. It was once Esso Standard Oil and Simonette Shipyard. Anyway, there's the dock house that was once an oil tanker dock that supplied oil to Nassau Harbor. Well, to Nassau for under the. There was a facing on the dock house, but it's all washed away from boats going by. It's concrete and steel all the way to the bottom. I had proposed that we dig down and create an underwater observatory, like a little bar under the water that you could look out into the harbor, but my mom didn't go for it. Now the yoga camp, Peter Max used to go there and gave me a recommendation to college, and we knew the guru there. It's kind of old story. There are many stories to tell of this house. This is where we hung out in our time of enlightenment when Joanne Kelly rented it. She also salvaged treasure from the beach area and created a museum that was at the British Colonial. Mott and Chanty also rented the house. They had been our caretakers for our house, and they had a baby in the house. And then the Halls bought it, and it was a big party, which I went to, and it was quite wonderful. And Randy became a friend, his son, and he built a house next door, which has been the last hangout of paradise, where I could go back and be in paradise again. Unfortunately, they have sold to the ships, and now the whole area is going to be taken over as a big tourist attraction. The house is pretty much a tear down. This is the little harbor that Randy and Annie had. I rebuilt the marina after a hurricane, and it's still standing. I'm quite proud of it. You can't see the house, it's up in the trees. These two ships are Royal Caribbean. I think they're the ones that have bought Randy and Annie's house. And the docks have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and extended out until they're actually blocking the harbor. And now they're actually landfilling the area that was the original dock. And it's supposedly been sold out again to the ships, who are going to put in a big welcome station. The Bahamas tried to do one, but they didn't do too good a job of it, so now they've turned it over to the foreigners to develop. But I had no idea they were going to landfill the whole inner area. Another environmental mess, and it's just good I'm not diving anymore, or I'd be suffering with all the dust coming from this construction. The British Colonial that once stood out as the largest building in town, where the Beatles used to stay, and behind it actually there's a little pub that once pirates hung out, but that's gone. Anyway, the Chinese have bought the land that belonged to the Oakses right next to the British Colonial, and they have turned the area into a modern city. This is their new constructed building. And this was for weddings and anniversaries and things. I spoke to the girl there. And although when storms come, they're going to be in trouble. They put a marina right here where the harbor opens up. There's a Jimmy Buffett thing right here. They put a Margaritaville there at that tower. Anyway, the harbor opened to the ocean there, and it gets very, very rough in winter. They're building this building way out on the end of the dock, which is going to catch hell. It's an interesting looking building, but it's going to catch hell. Now heading back home through the harbor. My next stop was to inspect the houseboat that my mother built, that I heard recently was moved from Yacht Haven around the corner, because they say that Yacht Haven is redoing their docks for the mega yachts, and I guess the houseboat is no longer welcome. At least that's what I was told. So it's been tucked in here, and I wanted to make sure that it was properly secured, because I have a feeling in a northeaster or just a northern gale, the houseboat will be smashed against the seawall. Yeah, so I gave Yacht Haven a bit of an inspection. This is a new thing that's been put up. That's the Bahama Divers boat that's been put out of business, and the stern of it. Not sure what the story is. That's my friend Eric's boat, Hatteras. And I met the people next door. It turned out to not only know Eric, but knew my ex-wife Yuri. That was kind of fun. And then that's what they're doing to the poop deck. It looks like they're expanding it out. I guess I can end with this. This is a shipwreck I found just north of Harbour Club. It seems to be a Bahamian registered boat, and it didn't seem to be sunk that long ago, just sitting there going to waste.